Hi and welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman. Today I'm working on a birthday month temperature banner quilt for our quilt guild. Our guild, Mississippi Quilters Guild here in Rockford, Illinois, is having our quilt show in May, the first weekend of May, and our membership has been challenged to make a temperature banner quilt for our birthday month from this last year. And there are instructions out on our website for our Quilt Guild, and I'll have links below so that you can get to that. But we have an instruction sheet on how to put this together. It gives us some ideas that we can use and lots of other details that I'm going to share with you here on my tabletop. Let's go to the tabletop and see all about how to put this temperature banner quilt together. So here's what I am working on right now, and my design for my temperature quilt is going to be like these little spools here, as you'll see. On the paperwork that I've downloaded from our Mississippi Quilters Guild website, there are some different samples. Our challenge quilt is a narrow challenge quilt. It's 6 inches wide, and it'll be 17 rows long for the different temperatures. Each 3-inch square represents the highs and lows for a particular day in the month. So basically what we were to do last year was to record the temperature, the high and low for our birthday month. Let me show you that one here. So this is one of the forms that's on the website. You record the high and the low for your birthday month, and there's 31 days there if your birthday month has 31 days. And this is how you lay out the banner quilt for our quilt show. It's just 2 days wide, and then it's 31 days long here, and then the month and the year has to be at the bottom there. So that's what you can use to lay out your temperatures for the month. And here is mine. So I've recorded mine. Mine is the month of May. So there wasn't a whole lot of difference in the temperatures. Let me show you. I'll show you one that's not all scribbly. Here are the temperature variations. This is another sheet you can download from the site. This is -20 all the way up to 90 degrees, and these are the colors of those fabrics. So you just simply go to your stash and find fabric colors that match those temperatures and identify which fabrics you're going to be using to create your temperature banner. And I should point out, this top one here is 90 degrees plus, so anything over 90 degrees is this color. So now let's take a look at what I've chosen. So first of all, in the month of May of 2023, so this was last year in May, the temperature ranges were not that different. So here is my fabrics that I've selected, A, B, C, D, E, and F, and they represent the different, let me go to my key code here, they represent these temperatures right here. So A is 90 plus, B is 80 to 89, C is 70 to 79, D is 60 to 69, E is 50 to 59, and F is 40 to 49. So my temperatures for the month of May didn't really vary too much. So the quilt itself, as you can see, pretty much it starts up here. This is the top of the quilt, and I have to finish my birthday block, which I'm going to share with you here in a minute. It starts up here and it continues on down to the bottom, which I don't think you can see. There we go. There is the bottom. Those are the hotter days at the end of May. Now let me show you how I'm going to complete this quilt. So each square in our challenge quilt is going to finish at 3 inches in the quilt. They're 3.5 unfinished and 3 inches finished. So mine started out here. This is May 1, May 2, May 3, May 4, May 5, May 6. And the center square represents the coldest part of the day on those individual days. And then this portion here, these outer parts of that thread spool, represents the hottest portion of the day. Wasn't very warm on May 1, didn't really get much warmer. It started to get a little bit warmer as the month went on. Now, May 7 is right here, and I have to finish May 8. For my May 8th, which happens to be my birthday, I'm actually going to create another 3-inch block. It's going to be a basket block. So I'm going to use these parts and pieces to create that basket block. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that here in a minute. So this was the coldest temperature of the day. That's going to be the basket part. It's going to be right here. And then the basket handles and the base of the basket will be the hottest part of the day. And again, it didn't get real warm that day, but that represents my birthday of May 8th. So I'll finish that. It will sit next to this spool in the quilt, and then I'll be able to actually attach it to the quilt once I have that finished. I'm also going to show you how I'm going to put my May, the date of May, and then my the year 23 on there as well. I am going to put May at the very bottom, and I'm going to put 23 in this 3-inch square, which is next to the date of 31. I'm also going to show you how I have created each of these spool blocks. So simple. They're simply 1.5-inch squares, and then I've cut 2-inch squares of the I'm calling this the sky fabric, and then the hottest color of the day. And I am making half-square triangles, cutting them apart. I'll end up with 4 half-square triangles, which will go in these corners here, and that will finish out that square. So let me show you how that is done as well. The quilt that I'm creating, or the banner for this challenge, it's a little bit more complicated, I guess, than what you would have to make. If you look at the samples that they show you in this page right here, some of them are simply just stripes, and that's a very easy way to make a temperature quilt. So every 3-inch square is a high and a low of a stripe, or a circle sitting on top of a square, so that would be the high and the low. Here is another. These are squares with just little rectangles on the inside. There's so many different things you could do. These are using Drunkard's Path squares and creating a high and low for that month. There's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of piecing in the quilt that I have chosen, and this is just a spool template that I'm using. You could, if you wanted to, go through every one of the days in your month and identify how many 1.5-inch squares you need to cut out because I have 30 of these spool 3-inch squares that I'm making in just one basket. So I would need 2 of the background squares. These are 1.5 inches. For each of the spool, I would need 2 2-inch squares for my half-square triangles that are the blue, or the background square. And then I would need 2 of the highest temperature that are 2 inches, and 2 that are 1.5 inches of the highest temperature, and only 1 of the lowest temperature that is 1.5 inch. So you'd go through and identify how many squares you need of all of that, and then you can simply cut everything out and have it all ready to go as you start piecing it together. So that's kind of what I did to simplify that. I just got everything. I identified what sizes, what pieces I needed, in which colors, cut them out, and they're ready to go. Now I've made half-square triangles here, and this is how I always make half-square triangles. You've seen me do this many, many times. I've drawn one diagonal line. I have gone ahead in assembly line fashion and just sewed these together on my sewing machine. And then when I cut them apart, I do cut from stitching line to stitching line just to get rid of that excess, that dog ear there. And then I'm going to, and you could use your rotary cutter or scissors, doesn't matter. I'm going to cut each of them in half, and each time you do that, you end up with 2 of the half-square triangles. So I have a total of 4 of these. They'll need to be squared up to 1.5 inches, and then they're each going to be placed on the bottom here to create the base of the spool, as you can see right there. And then this one right here will go at the top. Whoops. So I'm going to get these pressed and squared up, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I do want to point out, when you go out to the Mississippi Quilt Guild website, and the link again will be below, consider joining our quilt. We do have hybrid meetings every month, or most every month. There are some months where we might not have a speaker, but we have hybrid meetings, and by that I mean that our speakers are available via Zoom. So if you are someone who lives in another state, that would be just fine. You're able to be a member of our guild because you're able to see the meetings via Zoom. And it's a wonderful opportunity, and I know there are many quilters around the country who join quilt guilds in other states because they're able to see some speakers that they're really anxious to see. And there are many quilt guilds who are actually doing hybrid meetings, which is a great opportunity. I really do enjoy the hybrid meetings. Here you can see the little spool. So this is day 31. And I just simply have to get him sewn together, and I'm going to sew him together by webbing him again. I will sew these together, these together, these together. They'll be webbed together with the thread, and then I'll add these last 3, and then I'll do the rows. I finger press as I do that. I don't take it to the iron until it's finished. I have pretty much pressed most of my seam allowances open, and it just lays flatter that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get, this is day 31. I'm going to get it put together. This dark fabric here is my high temperature. This was my low temperature for the day. And this fabric here is what I'm considering the sky background for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this block together. Then I'm going to show you how I'm going to make the basket block. Here is that spool block, and I've webbed it so far. It's webbed down this side, and now I'm going to simply put these rows together. I'm going to sew this together, nesting those seam allowances, pressing it open, and then do the same with the bottom. I'll nest those seam allowances, press it open, and then it has to be squared up to 3.5 inches. All right, I have them pressed, and I have them squared up to 3.5. And what I'm doing is twisting these. I'm not putting them on all straight. I'm putting them on staggered, if you will. So this one is going up and this one's going sideways, and they're just staggered that way, all the way up the quilt. So I'm going to go ahead and get these sewn together, and then I'm going to attach them to the bottom. Then I'm going to work on the May portion of the banner, and I'm also going to make that basket. Before I piece the month of May in the year 23, I'm going to go ahead and finish my May 8 block, which is this basket block, so that I can complete the top half of the banner. I have May 7 here, and now I need to get my May 8 square. And here's how I'm going to piece it. We're going to start with this triangle here is the E, and we're going to put these B blocks around here. 2 of them are orange and 2 of them are blue. And the orange ones here are going to become the base of the basket. And then these will be the background or the sky. So what I'm going to do is simply stitch these together and stitch this together. I'll bring it back here in just a second. I've stitched the 2 B triangles, the blue one and the orange one, together to create the bottom half of this. Now I'm going to literally just sew this one on that side, press it open, sew this one on this side of the basket, press it open, and that will finish the bottom portion of the basket. So I'll do that next, and then we're going to work on the top of the basket. There's the little bottom of my basket. So we've completed that portion. Now we're going to work at the top. And we're going to start in the center, and that would be F. Here is F. It's the background coming through. And we're going to attach D and C on each side of that. So they will be sewn to each side of that. So let me get those stitched on there, and I'll bring it right back. I've put together the background F piece, and then C and D have been attached, and now I'm going to be attaching both of these background blue triangles to square out the top portion, and then I'll sew the bottom to the top, square up the little square to 3.5 inches, and then it will be ready to be sewn to the May 7 square. Here's the bottom of the basket, there's the top of the basket. I'm going to go ahead and sew it together and square it up. All right, I've put things together here. I did make an error down at the bottom. I had accidentally used May 7 down at the bottom, and I had to fix that, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But here is the top of the quilt, May 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I have put the basket in for May 8. You certainly don't have to identify your birth date within the month of your birthday in your quilt. It's just something that some of us in the Guild are doing. So that represents all of the days all the way down to day 30 here. This is 31, and this is an empty one, which is going to have the year. I have put some fusible. This is a 23. It's obviously backward. Once I cut this out and remove the paper, I'll put that on here, 23. For the year of 23, there's also an apostrophe there. It is reverse right now, but when I cut it out, it will be showing the right side. So that will be placed there. I'm not going to sew this unit to the bottom here yet, because when I applique these tiny little numbers, I want this piece loose so I can move it around under my sewing machine as I'm appliquing. I'm going to do a free motion applique on that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that fused, or cut out first, excuse me, and then I'll fuse it and I'll set up my machine for applique. So I have cut out the apostrophe and 23, I've cut out the M and the A, and I'm just finishing up the Y. I had fused these letters onto paperback fusible, and they were reverse image or mirror image. And now I can place them on there. I am going to get them fused down. I'm going to make sure they're centered the way I want them. I can see right now that May is not centered on there, but I'll get it centered. Once I'm happy with it, I will fuse it with the iron. Once I fuse it, it is permanent then. And then I'm going to go up and get some thread. I'm not sure if I'm just going to use a monofilament and I think I'm just going to edge stitch this all the way around because it's quite fussy. I might match it with some rayon thread. We'll see. I'm going to go up and take a peek at the threads that I have. Here's a quick peek at the applique parts and pieces here. I grabbed a couple of rayon threads upstairs, and one was a lighter orange. It's already in the machine, but I just did an edge stitch all the way around the letters and the numbers here. So they are fused on and then appliqued just with a simple straight stitch. Now I'm going to sew these two units together, then I'm going to sew this to the bottom of this unit, and then the center of my challenge quilt will be ready, and I'm simply going to get it quilted, of course, and then bound. I think I might use the darkest fabric to bind it. I guess what I'll have to take a peek at first of all is see how much scraps I have of each of these. I may have to make it a variegated binding depending on how much fabric I have left of these fabrics. This all came from my scrap stash. I've completed the temperature quilt. It is ready to go. I need to now get it quilted and then bound. I've found a very long, it's a wool batting that I've put in there. I found a scratch fabric from my scrap stash. It's pretty wild and crazy fabric, but it's going to work perfectly, I think, for this quilt because of the colors. They match beautifully with the colors for the month of May. So I have it ready to go. I think I'll do a very simple quilting on it. I'll probably do outline stitching around all the spools. I will do an outline stitching around the applique, and then I'll get it bound. And it was a lot of fun. I hope that you'll choose to try a temperature quilt. Again, you can go out to our Sinisippi Quilt Guild website, and I'll have a link below, and you can grab these these PDFs that will help you figure out how to go ahead and proceed with your challenge quilt. And the instructions that are given are simply for 1 month of the temperature quilt. For those of you who might be really ambitious, maybe you can make a temperature banner like this for each and every month of the year, starting on January 1 of this year, and proceed throughout all of 2024 and make a beautiful temperature quilt. Just for your home, or maybe it's a challenge that you'd like to present to your quilt guild. In any case, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll try it. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Quilting with Lori. Again, my name is Lori Dickman. If you do like the content that I provide, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. I sure love to hear from all of my viewers. So until next time, happy quilting.